Erica's neck itched where she'd let her boss install a microchip in her earlier that day. She could scarcely focus, it itched so bad. "It's actually pretty cool, though," Erica the suck-ass gushed. "They reckon everyone's gonna have one eventually anyway." "Sure," Amy said, while she searched the company EBA to see if this was even legal. Erica puzzled at Amy's resistance to contractual bioimplants. She continued to reel off some of the chip's many features: Gmail notifications, AirPod synchronization, GPS tracking, body water percentage monitoring. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of staying hydrated, which is awesome, Erica said, putting the hard sell on Amy. But Amy was already on the phone to the union. Damo, the #1 sales rep, racked up a $12,000 surgical bill, removing the sweat glands in his right hand. Damo always had a firm handshake, but now he had an exceedingly dry handshake as well. He was convinced it would give him a competitive edge in his business dealings. And it did. Clients were only too happy to accept Damo's arid palm. But Damo soon got complacent. He started showing up late, and his sales patter became tired and lifeless as he began to rely exclusively on sporadic handshakes to clinch a deal. "Very strange," wrote one client on LinkedIn. "Fucking lunatic," said another. Meanwhile, Wen, the #2 sales rep, paid 20 grand to have both hands done. The treacherous little upstart. Katia had been shooting roids into her ass cheek all day. By the time she arrived at the all-staff meeting, she was even more jacked up than usual. Not that long ago, Katia had been a responsible and respected manager. Now she bails up her employees to proselytize in a frenzy about the benefits of bodybuilding. She had also taken to shilling garishly labeled supplements as part of her gym's fundraising drive. The firm's meek and compliant receptionist was reluctant to enter Katia's blast radius. He'd already spent a week's wages on something called vain fuck, partly because Katia was his boss, partly because he'd seen that Instagram post of her ripping a phone book in half. But this message couldn't wait. Lives were at stake. John, the really old intern, returned to his seat after suffering a massive heart attack at the office glory hole. The huge dong had extruded from the cubicle wall with lethal aplomb. How was I to know this was a glory hole office, he thought. Where are the bloody signs? Now, as the body of John lay prone on the bathroom tiles, the spirit of John assumed his eternal repose. Glory hole ghost. Maybe that's not so bad, he reasoned. He'd certainly held more embarrassing job titles. And everyone in his life had treated him like a figurative ghost for years anyway. His colleagues acted like he was invisible. His children shivered whenever he touched them. And his wife openly cucked him on campsites. John reflected on a life cut short and considered a new existence without pain, the infinite possibilities of the void. Rick and Richard felt their talents were being wasted in accounts. They spent most of their office hours dreaming about a men's fashion boutique they planned to one day open. Instead of garments sitting lifelessly on racks, Rick and Richard's shop would employ attractive young men to model the outfits. To a driving techno beat, 24 pouting twinks would pace the store like lions in a cage, all the while making eyes at the potential buyer. You could buy the clothes right off their backs. But despite being chartered accountants, neither Rick nor Richard had bothered to run the numbers on paying 24 models for 10-hour catwalking shifts 7 days a week. Not long into the venture, they would begin lying on their business activity statements, and soon thereafter indicted on multiple counts of wage theft. Poor boys. Derrick was running late to his own prank after stopping to jiggle his cock through the office glory hole. Bursting forth from the dunnies, he screamed, "Non-denominational suicide bomber coming through." But the office had already cleared out in response to the bomb threat he'd called through to reception. While Derrick streaked around the office looking for any sign of life, Cartier was halfway through a head count in the Hungry Jack's car park. Deciding it'd be better to leave on his own terms, Derrick whipped out his smartphone to DM his boss on the office WhatsApp. "Hi, Cartier," he wrote. "Just letting you know I've decided to explore other opportunities. Soz for the short notice." As he hit send, a trickle of hot dog juice snaked its way down the front of his undies, and the wail of sirens grew louder.